Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah and today I'm going to be showing you how to make quite possibly one of my favorite things I've ever made. I first sketched up the idea of this pattern probably about a year ago and I finally had enough time to start it last month, but I ended up using double crochets instead of half double crochets or single crochets because I'm like, I am not about to make a nearly 40-inch skirt with single crochets. That would take me a very long time. And then I'm like, what if I just use double crochets? Maybe it'll work, but it did not. And the grid was so extended and it just did not look right. So then I was majorly behind, days behind, because I had to start over. So I started over with half double crochets and that ended up working much better. But I did have a trip to North Carolina for 5 days that I wasn't able to work on it. So it's just been a long time in the making that I've been working on this skirt, and I'm just so happy that it's finally and officially done and I can show you guys how to make it because I am really happy with the finished result. I still have to weave in all of the ends and everything, but she's looking really good. I would say that this is more of a late beginner intermediate pattern just because of the math and the tapestry crochet part of it, but you can definitely make this a beginner pattern if you use a simpler grid. I am going to be making another skirt, like a mini skirt, because I originally wanted to add a border to the bottom of this skirt, but I ended up making it too long because I just didn't remember that I wanted to do a border. So I will be making a mini skirt version of something like this with a different grid, and then I'll be able to do that border with the beads and the things that I wanted to do all along the edge, kind of like a little tassel-y, I don't know, I'm not sure, not tassels, but like, you know how like there are tassels on the ends of a poncho? Like I wanted to have beads like hanging, not tassels, like beads hanging, if you know what I mean. Also, I'm sorry I don't have a vlog for this pattern. It has just been a little bit crazy, so vlogs might be on a temporary hold for a little bit, but I am working on another crochet skirt pattern and then we'll probably have a knitting vlog after that. But we'll see how everything goes, but I'm thinking, I'm like 85% sure that that's how things are gonna go. There will be a vlog soon. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the love and support on my channel. I really appreciate you all so much for being here. Don't forget to tag me if you make this skirt. I cannot wait to see if you pick a different grid or if you pick the same grid or how, like the colors that you choose, everything. I just want to see your guys' take on this pattern and I'm so excited, so let's get started. For this project, I'm going to be using Friends Cotton 8-4 from Hobbii. I'll let you know how many yards I use up on screen here. And I'm going to be using a 3.5mm hook for this project, which is the hook size that my yarn recommends. Also in a second, I'm going to be showing you how to do the waistband portion of the skirt, and you'll see that I'm using a 4mm, not 4.5, a 4mm hook, but I actually ended up redoing that part with this 3.5mm hook because I ended up just deciding to use a 3.5mm hook for the entire project instead. So just ignore the fact that I'm using a different colored hook, a different sized hook for that part of the video. So, okay, let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and start by making a slip knot. And then I'm gonna go ahead and chain an amount that reaches my waist measurement, which my waist is about 30 to 31 inches, making sure that I chain an even number of chains. So I just went ahead and chained an amount that reaches my waist measurement, but also once you connect the two ends of the chain, that it will comfortably go over your hips as well, because you don't want it to be too loose because crochet stretches out over time and it bags out over time. So you don't want your beginning chain to be too loose. I ended up making mine too tight because I was trying to avoid this, but it is a little bit too tight. So I do have to struggle to pull it on now that the skirt is finished. And I am hoping that it does loosen up a tad bit over time. But you do want your beginning chain to comfortably go over your hips and fit your waist nicely. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just chaining an even number of chains that goes over my hips a little bit snugly and fits my waist comfortably. Here I have my chain, so I'm just joining the two ends like this, and I'm just going to slip it on and make sure that everything fits exactly the way that I want. And once I know that it does, I'm going to take my thumb and run it down the edge of my chains just to make sure that my beginning chain here isn't twisted at all, that it's just laying flat perfectly. So you go ahead and do the same thing. Just make sure that your chain is not twisted and that the V-stitches are all laying nice and flat. As you can see, I'm just rotating it a bit, making sure everything is laying flat and straight. So I can go ahead and slip stitch into the first chain that I made to join my chain here so I can start my waistband. Now I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first chain, into the beginning chain, to join together to make a circle or our waistband. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to put 1 half double crochet. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 1 half double crochet in the next chain. And then in the next chain, just putting 1 half double crochet in every single chain all the way around. And then once I reach the beginning, the first half double crochet that I made, I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch into it. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, 2, turn my work, and in the same stitch that the chain 2 is in, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, and just repeat this same mesh pattern for this one row, just because having this mesh pattern is really nice if you need to weave in a waist tie, which I always do for my skirts because crochet is very heavy and you want it to stay up on your waist. So I usually make a mesh row that looks just like this so I can weave in easily my chain tie, because I made a tie for this, just chaining a bunch of chains, however many that you want, very, very simple, and then cutting my tails. And then I'm just weaving it in later on when I need it to hold up my skirt. So you can go ahead and do the same thing of making this entirely mesh row. And then once you reach the beginning, you're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first double crochet that you made. Then you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, you're going to put 1 half double crochet, and then in the chain 1 space, you're going to go ahead and put a half double crochet right in that gap. And then you're going to put your next half double crochet in the top of the previous row's double crochet. Then in the chain 1 space, in the top of the previous row's double crochet, in the chain 1 space, and just repeating this all the way around. Just 1 half double crochet in every single stitch all the way around, in the top of the previous row's double crochet, and in those chain 1 spaces. And now I'm going to go ahead and just pull up a loop here because we are now going to be adding our stitch markers so we can start increasing for the hips. Because my hip measurement is about 36 inches, which is wider than my waist measurement. So we need to accommodate that by doing some increases on the sides of our skirt. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your hip measurements and write those down. And then we're going to go ahead and add our stitch markers on either side of our waistband here. So we're going to want to make sure that our waistband is laying nice and flat so that you add your stitch markers relatively in the same spot on either side of the waistband. So now I'm just grabbing my measuring tape and measuring my waistband really quickly. So it's about 14 inches here, which again, I did make mine a little too small. It should have been 15, but also crochet does stretch out over time. So I'm just making sure that the middle seam here on the skirt is at 7 inches because that is half of 14. And again, it does not have to be exactly perfect. If you want it to be exactly perfect, you can go ahead and count stitches. It doesn't technically matter to me, but if you want it to be exactly perfect, you can go ahead and count your stitches to make sure that your stitch markers are on the same side on either side of your waistband. To check for me, I'm just going ahead and counting these chain 1 gap spaces on either side just to make sure that we're relatively somewhat in the middle, and it ended up working out well. I had the same amount of spaces on either side, so then I just went in and grabbed my stitch marker and just attached them on what I felt like was the same stitch on either side. Again, if you want to count, you are more than welcome to do so. So I'm just attaching my stitch marker, as you can see right there in that stitch on either side of my folded in half waistband with my seam in the middle. And then I'm just going to fold it like this to make sure that it looks nice and even to my eye. So now we're going to go ahead and start our increasing. I'm just going to join back in my yarn and slip stitch into that first half double crochet of the row, chain 1, and in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 half double crochet. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my stitch marker where I'm going to start my increases. So just 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my stitch marker. And now I've reached my stitch marker, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop it out for a second. And in that stitch that the stitch marker was in, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 half double crochets. 1 and 2. And then I'm going to put my stitch marker back in that first stitch of the increase there. And then I'm just going to continue on putting 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my stitch marker on the other side of my waistband. Now I've reached my other stitch marker, so I'm just going to pop it out. And in that stitch, I'm going to put 2 half double crochets. 1, 2, and in that first stitch of the increase, I'm going to go ahead and put my stitch marker right back into that stitch. And then I'm going to continue on putting 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach the end of this round. And I've reached the end of the round, so I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first half double crochet of the row. And then I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 half double crochet. And then in every single stitch until I reach my stitch marker, I'm going to put 1 half double crochet, just basically repeating the previous row. 1 half double crochet in every stitch until I reach my stitch marker.
And here I've reached my stitch marker, so I'm going to pop it out. And in that same stitch that the stitch marker was in, I'm going to put 2 half double crochets for an increase. 1, 2, and in that first stitch of the increase, I'm going to put back my bobby pin so I know where to increase for the next row. And then I'm just going to put 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my next stitch marker. And here I've reached my next stitch marker. So I'm going to go ahead and pop out my bobby pin and put 2 half double crochets into that stitch for my second increase of this row. And in that first stitch of the increase, I'm just going to go ahead and pop my bobby pin back into that stitch and resume putting 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach the end of the round. Now I'm just going to go ahead and take a break for a second and show you when we need to stop our increases. So my waistband measurement was about 14 and a half inches, but I need my hip measurement laying flat to be wider since my hips are wider than my waist. So right now I need to figure out when I have to stop increasing. My hip measurement is 36 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and put that into my calculator. And since we need to figure out what my laying flat hip measurement is, I'm going to divide that by 2. Which equals 18. So now I know that my laying flat hip measurement needs to be 18 inches. As you can see, currently my measurement is at almost 15 inches, which is not nearly enough, so I must keep increasing. So now I'm just reattaching my hook and repeating the exact same steps that we did for the previous 2 rows until I reach 18 inches. So I'm just slip stitching into the top of the first half double crochet of the row, chaining 1, turning my work, and in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to put 1 half double crochet, and then I'm just going to put 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my stitch marker. And once I reach my stitch marker, I'm going to put 2 half double crochets into that stitch that the stitch marker is in, and then I'm going to put my stitch marker back into the first increase half double crochet, and then I'm going to put 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my next stitch marker, where I'm going to put 2 half double crochets in the same stitch, and then I'm going to reinsert my stitch marker into the first increase of that stitch, and then I'm going to put 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach the end of the round. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the first half double crochet of the row, chain 1, turn my work, and just repeat this exact same thing. If you need to rewind to the first 2 rows, you're more than welcome to, because it is just a row, the same row repeat for however long you need to for your laying flat hip measurement, which mine is 18 inches. So I'm going to continue on repeating the same first row, the same second row, the same thing that we did in the first 2 rows until I reach 18 inches wide for my hips. Okay, I haven't gotten all the way to 18 inches yet. I am at a little over 16 inches, so I still have to keep going until I reach 18 inches, but I did want to take a second before I continue on with the skirt. I'd like to talk about when we need to start the grid. We want to make sure that we start our grid at the perfect time, because if we start it too late, we risk not being able to finish the entire grid because we've already reached our maxi skirt length. And if we keep going to finish the grid, then the skirt is going to be too long and not fit you the way you want. Also, if you start it too soon, the grid will be awkwardly in the middle of the skirt and not look the way we want either. So to make sure this doesn't happen, we're going to have to do some counting and math. I have 10 rows done, and I measured 10 rows, and for me 10 rows is 2 inches. 2 inches, and you can measure however many rows you want to, but we're just trying to get an idea of how many inches our finished grid is going to be.
Your amount of inches for 10 rows might be different. It all depends on the hook size you're using, your yarn size, your tension. There's so many different variables. So I'm gonna go ahead and take note of how many inches 10 rows is for me, and then I'm gonna count how many rows my grid is. This is the grid that I'm using, and I counted it long ways, all of the boxes long ways. So you're gonna count whatever grid you're using. If you wanna use this one, I'll have a link to get this specific grid in my description, but you're gonna count your boxes going long ways here, the length of the grid. You're gonna count every single box. I counted this one already, and there is 91 boxes long. I brought in my iPad here to help me out with showing you better. I'm usually a visual learner, so having a tool like this is really helpful for me. But if you don't have an iPad with Procreate, this is the app I'm using, it's called Procreate. If you don't have an app like that, you can always use markup on your phone. Let me show you real quick. You can just touch this little pen here and mark on your grid from just the Photos app. You can also do that as well, but I'm gonna be using Procreate. Also, another thing, if you don't have any of this stuff, you could literally just print the picture and write on the piece of paper. You can also do that too. So I know that my grid is 91 inches, and I also know that 10 inches for me equals 2 inches. We need to figure out how many inches though 91 rows is going to be. And since we don't have 91 rows done, we need to do some math to figure it out. So since I know for sure that 10 rows equals 2 inches, I'm gonna go over to my grid and mark off 10 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm gonna put 2 inches right next to that dash and do that another time, not one more time, a bunch more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is just visualizing it for you that these 10 rows for me is going to be 2 inches in the end. And I know that for sure because I have a little gauge swatch over here that I'm using. It's not really a gauge swatch, it's my actual piece, but I'm using it as my gauge swatch because I absolutely despise making gauge swatches, and I don't need to because I have this right here. So I'm gonna keep on going with this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 until I have the whole entire grid marked like this. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I have all of my rows marked here. As you can see, I have 1 extra row since it was 91. I have this 1 extra row here, but since the half double crochet rows are so short, it's not really gonna make much of a difference in the measurements, so I'm totally fine with that. I am just gonna ignore it and pretend that it doesn't exist. But now I'm gonna go ahead and count up all of my 2s. So I'm gonna count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So now we know that the grid, my grid, based on my little gauge swatch here, is going to be 18 inches. So you go ahead and mark up your grid, or you can just do the math. I honestly like to visualize it this way. It kind of like checks my work. I did do the math on my own without needing to do this, but this is kind of a foolproof way if math is a little bit intimidating to you. It is quite intimidating to me, but this is kind of like, it's more visual, it's easier if, yeah, again, if math is a little intimidating for you as well. You just have, as we remember that we measured the 10 rows here and we got 2 inches. So we know that 10 rows is 2 inches. So just keep marking 10 rows and that the 10th row just make little 2 inches and then just add them all up, which makes it a lot easier for me. So you do it however way that you would like, but that just makes it easier for me. So now we need to figure out how long we want our skirt to be. So I measured from my belly button to my ankles and got 38 inches. So I want my skirt to be about 37, 38 inches because I do want to do a border at the bottom, and I also want to, I'm gonna block this so it might stretch out a tad bit. It is cotton yarn, so it's not gonna stretch out a ton, but I am going to block it. So I might do around 37 inches or so. So now we need to figure out when we're gonna go ahead and start the grid based on that, like how much of just the 1/2 double crochet in every stitch, like how many rows we need to do of this so that our grid is at the bottom of the skirt, not the middle, not the top. We want it to be at the bottom of our skirt. You're gonna go ahead and again measure however long you want your skirt to be. Mine, let's say, is 38 inches. So you take the amount of inches that you want your skirt to be and subtract it by the number that we just got right here. So for me, 38 minus 18, very easy math, is 20 inches. So whatever number that you get, that is how many inches you need your skirt to be here before you start the grid. So I need mine to be 20 inches before I start my grid, because then I'm gonna finish off the rest of the skirt with, now I know how many inches this is. It's 18 inches, so then I can finish off the rest of the 18 inches so I can get my 38 inches that I need for my skirt. Since right now I'm not even at 3 inches, I need to get to work on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep increasing in the hips until I get to 18 inches. And then I will meet back up with you guys to explain what to do. It's super simple, but I do wanna explain it to you what we do after we're done increasing for the hips. Basically what you're gonna do is once you're done, you reach the amount of laying flat inches that your hip measurement is, which mine is 18 because mine was about 36, I think. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take out your stitch markers because you don't need them anymore. You can just put them away, and then you can just do 1/2 double crochet in every stitch all the way around. Super, super simple until you get to the inches that we talked about. I need, remember, 20 inches, but you might have a different amount that you need. So I'm gonna keep going with increasing for the hips, and I will see you guys once I am finished with that.
Now that I've reached my 18 inches of increasing for my hips, so this will fit me nice and comfortably. As you can see, I have hit 18 inches, which is perfect for my measurements. So now we can stop increasing, and I don't need to have my stitch markers anymore, so you can go ahead and remove your stitch markers because we no longer need them. Now I'm just going to go ahead and reattach my hook and slip stitch into the first 1/2 double crochet of the row. And then I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to go ahead and put 1/2 double crochet. And then in every single stitch all the way around, I'm just going to put 1/2 double crochet. There's no increasing anymore because I reached my hip measurement. So I'm just putting 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch all the way around. And then slip stitching into the first 1/2 double crochet of the row, chaining 1, turning my work, just repeating the exact same thing, just without increasing, because I don't need to anymore. And I'm just going to continue on with the same exact thing until I reach my length that I need before I start my grid, which is 19 inches. The length that you need might be different, but mine is about 19 to 20 inches. So I'm going to keep on going with 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch all the way around until I reach about 19 to 20 inches long for my skirt. Before I start my grid though, I do want to do a row around this edge, this beginning edge here. As you can see, the chain is just not as clean as I want it to be, that beginning chain around the top of our waistband, and I want it to look a lot cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead and do just 1/2 double crochet row all the way around that edge. So I'm just going to insert my hook in any of the chain loops at the top here, just any of them, it doesn't matter, but just somewhat close to my back seam. And then I'm just going to tie my yarn right here in this spot, and then I'm going to insert my hook in the same stitch, pull up a loop and chain 1, and in that same stitch I'm going to put 1/2 double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and put 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch all the way around in those remaining loops of the beginning chain. just to make that edge a lot cleaner. And this is definitely optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I definitely prefer it because I like the look of the finished edge. And there's what we have so far. So I'm just going to continue on doing this 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch all the way around the top of the waistband. And this is just the difference between the finished edge and the non-finished edge, and I definitely like the cleaner edge much better. Okay, so I have reached my 19 inches of my skirt, and yeah, I'm very happy about it because I had to take a huge break from working on this because I was in North Carolina and I was not for work, and I wasn't able to work on anything else like crocheting or anything like that. But I finally have my 19 inches done so I can start my grid, and I'm so excited to get started with this because this project has been an up and down roller coaster since the start. So now I'm going to go ahead and start my grid, but if I were to go ahead and just start it right now, see, this is the back seam. If I were going to go ahead and start it right now, my grid would be in the back of the skirt and then mostly like on the side, which would be really weird. So I want to start my grid perfectly in the middle of the skirt so it's like right in the front. So I need to figure out when to begin my grid in the row. So I know across that my grid is 70 boxes, and if you're using the same grid as mine, yours will also be 70 boxes across. If you're using a different one, go ahead and count however many boxes are that you have across, going this way. And I know that I have 70. So now I need to go ahead and count all of the stitches that I have in the last row that I crocheted. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, count my last row here. Every single 1/2 double crochet that I have, I'm gonna go ahead and count every single one, and you go ahead and do the same because our numbers quite possibly, most likely, will be different. So I'm just gonna go ahead and count every single stitch all the way around. Right now, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I got 188 stitches on the bottom here, so now I'm gonna take my number of stitches in this last row, which is 188, and I'm gonna subtract it by the number of boxes of the width of my grid here, which is again 70. So 188 minus 70 equals 118. Okay, so I drew up this very silly diagram here, but hopefully it will make some sense to you. So this is our skirt. This is the waistband of our skirt here. That right there. And this is like an overhead view. So this is the 70 stitches of our grid, and this mass chaos is the grid, the lily grid. As you can see, flowers, leaves. It's open to interpretation. But so this is the 70. And then that means that all of these stitches here, there's 118 total. And this is our back seam, which is this right here, this back seam right here. So we need to see how many stitches are on either side of our back seam. So now that we know that there's 118 total left, we just need to take 118 and divide it by 2, because there are 2 sides left. So 118 divided by 2 is 59. So there should be 59 stitches. Sorry, there's a fly. 59 stitches on either side of our grid. So that means that there will be 59 stitches on either side of my grid to make the lily pattern perfectly in the middle of my skirt. So I'm going to go ahead and count 59 stitches starting from my first 1/2 double crochet of the row. And then I'm going to put my stitch marker in the stitch right after the 59th stitch, which is where I need to start my grid. So I'm going to grab 2 stitch markers here. Okay, and then I'm going to start counting. Okay, so this is the 59th stitch, and now I'm going to put my stitch marker not in the 59th stitch. I'm going to put it in the stitch right after the 59th stitch. So this stitch right here. And now I'm going to repeat the same thing over here
starting from the first half double crochet that I made. And I'm going to count 59 stitches, and then in the stitch right after the 59th stitch, so technically the 60th stitch, I'm going to put my stitch marker in that stitch. Okay, this is the 59th stitch. So I'm not going to put my stitch marker in the 59th stitch. I'm going to put it in the stitch right after the 59th stitch. So this is my skirt laying flat, pretty close to flat, and this is where the grid is going to be, and it is perfectly in the middle of the skirt, which is amazing, and that is how you figure it all out. You can also count the stitches in between here to make sure that you have 70 or however many wide across your grid is. I'm going to do that just to check because I'm a major checker and want to make sure everything's good before I continue on. So yeah, this is just how to figure out the math of where to put your grid right in the middle of your skirt. And also don't forget that when you're counting the stitches that the stitch markers are in, they count as the first and last stitch of the grid. So I was like, wait a minute, why do I have 68 stitches in between? Then I was like, oh my gosh, wait, it counts obviously the stitches that the stitch markers are in. Like, obviously I knew that. This is my pattern. Anyway, so now we can go ahead and start our grid. Usually when I do tapestry crochet, I start from the bottom and go up. But if we were to do that, obviously our pattern would be upside down, which we don't want. So we're gonna go ahead and start from the top. And as you can see, the first row here, there's nothing going on. So I'm just gonna skip that one since of course we have nothing going on in the first row anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip it, but I'm gonna start from this way. I'm gonna go, okay, sorry, why is this not working? Hold on. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go this way and then down. So I'm going right and then left and then right and then left. I don't know, sometimes my rights and lefts are confusing, but we're gonna go this way and then this way and then this way and this way and this way. If I accidentally got my rights and lefts wrong, just know that we're going this way first, and then now we're gonna go this way. So I'm gonna go ahead and count how many stitches I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 stitches here. And if you need a more in-depth tutorial for tapestry crochet, I do have a video where I show how to make this spiral crochet sweater, and I do take it a lot more slowly. Again, this is an intermediate pattern, so you do kind of need to know some basics of tapestry crochet. But if you don't and you're a beginner and still want to make this skirt, I would recommend going back to that video because I do explain it a little bit slower and better for beginners. So I know now that I have 24 stitches before I get to these 4 stitches of my wine burgundy color. But technically I don't even need to worry about my grid yet because I'm just gonna be doing my 1/2 double crochet in every stitch. And then once I reach my stitch marker is when I start the grid. So remember, we have our 59 stitches here. That is nothing going on. There's nothing with the grid. 59 stitches on each side. There's just absolutely nothing with the grid, just 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch. But then once I reach my stitch marker here, that becomes the first stitch of our grid. So remember I said that there was 24 blank stitches before we reach those 4 that we're gonna add in a new color. So then we're gonna start counting from the stitch marker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 24, and then we're gonna start our grid. So yes, we are not gonna be starting the grid quite yet, but we will very soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick up where I left off here. Bring my yarn over. And I'm gonna go ahead and slip stitch into the first 1/2 double crochet of the row, just like we've been doing. Chain 1, turn my work, and in that same stitch, I'm going to put 1 1/2 double crochet. So again, we're just repeating the exact same thing that we've been doing until we reach our stitch markers. So just 1/2 double crochet in every stitch until I reach my bobby pin, and then I'm gonna start my grid.
Here I've reached the stitch right before my stitch marker. So now I'm going to pop out my stitch marker, and remember that this stitch is the first stitch of the grid. So I had those 24 blank stitches that now I'm going to start doing. So I'm going to pull that out. 1, that's the first stitch of the grid. I'm going to put my stitch marker directly back into that stitch. Don't forget to put it back into that first stitch of the grid. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 is going to be this next stitch. But if you know tapestry crochet, you don't want to finish completely that stitch right before the stitch that you're going to add a new color in. So I have my yarn here. So now in that 24th stitch, the stitch right before the one that we are adding our color in, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the stitch, and pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook. And instead of yarning over and finishing this stitch, I'm actually going to add in my burgundy color. So I'm just going to drape that yarn over the hook and pull it through all 3 loops on my hook. So now I have joined in my burgundy color. And there are 4 stitches of the burgundy, so I'm going to go ahead and do 4. 1, 2, 3, and I'm not going to finish my 4th stitch. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to take this yarn and kick it behind me, and then I'm going to bring back over my cream yarn. Yarn over and pull through. So now I have my 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 burgundy stitches there. And now for the rest of my grid, there is nothing going on. So just 1 half double crochet in every single stitch of the cream color. So as you can see, we have our 4, which is perfect. So then I'm going to go ahead and just do 1 half double crochet in every single stitch all the way until I reach my stitch marker. I've reached my stitch marker. I'm just going to pop it out, put a half double crochet in the stitch that the stitch marker was in, and I'm going to put the stitch marker directly back into that stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish out my last 59 stitches until I reach the first half double crochet of the row. And this is outside of the grid, so of course there's nothing that I have to do other than put 1 half double crochet in every stitch with my cream yarn. Okay, I finished that row, so now I'm just going to go ahead and cross out this second row. Always cross out your rows as you're making them, and then down so I know which way I'm going. So now I'm going to go ahead and count these white boxes to see how many I need before my color change. Okay, so 40, 41. So let me show you on the grid here, just to explain the color changing real fast. So I have 41 stitches here. Sorry, you can't see. We have 41 stitches here.
So I'm gonna make 41 total, 40 full half double crochets here. And then in my 41st stitch, the stitch that is directly before this stitch here that we're going to be color changing, in this 41st stitch, I don't want to entirely finish my half double crochet. Instead, I'm going to join in, as you saw, that new yarn for the color change. So in the 41st stitch, I'm not going to completely finish it. And that goes for however many stitches you have. For that last stitch that is right before the color change stitch, which is this one right here, you don't want to entirely finish your stitch. Same goes for here. I'm gonna make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete burgundy wine color, whatever that color is. I'm gonna make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full ones. And then in this last 6th one, since it's the stitch right before another color change back to the cream, I'm not gonna entirely finish that 6th stitch. I'm going to actually join in or bring back my cream color. So basically I'm just switching back and forth between the two colors. Doing 2 colors is a lot easier. I've done tapestries where there's many colors and it gets a little bit trickier because there's so much yarn twisting, but with 2 colors it's definitely a lot simpler, so that does simplify this pattern a little bit. So basically, the stitch that's directly before the color change here, the 41st stitch, you don't want to entirely finish that stitch. Instead, you're going to bring back in your other color, whatever color that you are using. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. We'll do a couple rows together, but basically, this just kind of repeats itself. The whole entire grid, the same thing applies. And it's really, once you get the hang of it, it's relatively simple. So we're gonna do a couple more rows together just to try and figure it out a little bit more. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the first half double crochet of the row. Chain 1, turn my work. And now, I'm just going to repeat the exact same thing that we've been doing. Yarn over, and in that same stitch, put a half double crochet, and then 1 half double crochet in all of these 59 stitches that I have. Your number might be different. And all of these 59 stitches that I have until I reach my stitch marker. So just put 1 half double crochet in every stitch until you reach your stitch marker. Okay, so now I have reached my stitch marker, so I'm going to pop it out and put my half double crochet, the first half double crochet of the grid right there, put my stitch marker back. So remember, we had 41 stitches before we need to start color changing, and this first stitch that the stitch marker is in, that counts as number 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 41. Okay, so I've done 40 stitches. So now for my 41st, I'm not going to finish it. I have my 3 loops on my hook, and now since I am on the back of my work, as you can see where all the tails are, this is the inside of the skirt. This is the outside, this is the inside. So now I'm not gonna just leave my tail out there because that's gonna be on the outside of the work, which is not what we want. So I'm actually going to bring the tail backwards into the inside, and then I'm going to take back my second color, and I'm going to yarn over with that color to finish the 41st stitch. And now we have 6 stitches to do with this color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but I'm not going to finish that 6th stitch. I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop here, get 3 loops on my hook, and then again bring my yarn backwards so that's not in the front of my work. And then I'm going to gently pull back over my cream yarn back onto my hook to finish off that 6th stitch. And then I'm just going to go ahead, and I believe, yep, we're all clear for the rest
just to do 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch with the cream. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my stitch marker. Now I reached my stitch marker stitch. I'm going to pop it out, put a 1/2 double crochet in the stitch that it was in, and then put the stitch marker directly back in. And now I'm just going to go ahead and finish out this row with the last 59 stitches of the row, just doing 1/2 double crochet in every stitch with my cream yarn. Okay, so now for the next row, I'm going to do the exact same thing we've been doing, slip stitch into the first 1/2 double crochet of the row, chain 1, turn my work, and in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to put 1/2 double crochet, and then until we reach my stitch marker, I'm just going to put 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch, and then we can go ahead and start back our grid. I've reached my stitch marker, so I'm just going to pop it out and put my first stitch of the grid right there. So now I went ahead and counted before I recorded, and I have 23 blank stitches before I start my color change. And let me count the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there's 7. Oops, there's 7 stitches with the color change. So I have 23 total stitches before I need to change to my next color. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My 23 stitches. I already have 1 from where my stitch marker was. (20, 21, 22), and now I'm at my 23rd. 23, but remember the stitch that is right before the color change, we're not going to finish it. Also, I'm at the front of my work, so I am going to toss my yarn behind me, right in the back there, and I'm going to join back my burgundy color for the next 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the 7th stitch is the stitch right before the color change back to cream. So I'm not going to finish it. I have my 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to drop my yarn behind me and gently pull back my cream yarn tail and drape it on my hook. And then I believe I have nothing else for the rest of this row. No other color changes, so I'm just going to finish off the row. Reach the stitch marker, just gonna pop it out. Put my final 1/2 double crochet of the grid row here. And then I'm just going to finish off with my last 59 stitches. Originally, I was going to stop for a little bit showing you guys what to do, and then I was going to pick back up again halfway through here, which I'm still going to do. So I'm going to probably do maybe like 20, 30 rows, and then we're going to pick back up and do a couple rows together, because I just want to get more of it done and then show you guys, you know, once we get more down here with a lot more going on. But I am going to show you, give you one tip really quick before I just drop you guys for 30 more rows. So we have this bud over here, but our yarn for our burgundy, whatever color that is, I'm not quite sure what color that is. Let's just call it berry. I don't know. It's like blackberry, raspberry. I don't know what color it is. Honestly, I should look it up on the Hobbii website and see, because I keep calling it burgundy and I don't think it's burgundy. But anyway, our second color
it is all the way over here. So that means that our yarn tail is going to be dragging all the way over here, which I technically do not like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in another ball of the same color over here to work on this bud, just to make it easier so there's not so much yarn trailing. And you'll know what I mean. If this is your first time doing this, you're like, what the heck are you talking about? You're definitely going to understand what I'm talking about once you do it, once you see the back of your work and you're like, oh, okay, I get the yarn trailing thing, and that it would be like so much of a yarn tail all the way over here. So I'm just gonna bring in, and this can apply to any pattern that any grid that you're using. I'm just gonna bring my tail in. I'm gonna bring in, sorry, not my tail. It's late, I'm recording this late. But I am going to be bringing in a new ball of yarn over here, just to make it easier. And I wanted to explain that to you real quick. So I am going to do part of this row. We're gonna do part of this row together real quick. So I'm just gonna count. We have 1, 2, oh, I'm on the erase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plain boxes before we start adding in a color. But before we do that, of course, I have to do my plain stitches. Slip stitch, chain 1, turn our work, you know the drill. We're gonna put same half double crochet in the same stitch, and then just 1 half double crochet in every stitch until we reach our stitch marker. Now I reached my stitch marker. I'm gonna pop it out, and that is the first stitch of my 11 that I need to get to the color change. So I'm just going to show you real quick what I meant by that trailing yarn issue. So first I'm going to do my 11 stitches. Hold on. So I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'm not going to do my 11th yet. So if I wanted to join the other color onto my hook, as you can see, I would need to bring this tail of yarn all the way over here. So then there's going to be this big old line here. And then sometimes it's like too tight. Yeah, it's not the best idea. So I'm going to bring in a new ball of yarn just to eliminate that issue. So I have 10 here and I need 11, so I'm going to make my 11th one, but I'm not going to finish it. And then since we are in the back of the work here, I'm going to bring my yarn behind me just like this, and then I'm going to join in this burgundy color yarn with the tail on this side and the working yarn on this side. Drape it on my hook like so, and pull that burgundy yarn through all 3 loops just like that. And then I have 4 stitches to do for the bud, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th stitch I'm not going to finish. I'm going to put my yarn right behind me and then bring back over gently my cream yarn, pull it through all the loops. So now I'm just going to count how many I have here, because I need to bring back in my burgundy yarn for this part over here, but I'm not going to be using this ball of yarn. I'm going to be using that one for over here. So I'm just going to count how many boxes are in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So 25 total stitches before my next. That does not look like a 5. 20, doesn't look like a 2 either. 25 stitches before my next change of color.
So I'm going to go ahead and do those 25. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I've done 24, so my 25th stitch I am not going to entirely finish, and I'm going to put my yarn behind me. And now I have 4 stitches with this red color. So 1, 2, 3, and then that 4th stitch I am not going to finish because I have 1 of my cream that I need to do. Let me show you what I'm doing. I've got that 1 box here of the cream, so I've done the 4 of the red already, and then I've got the 1 there of the cream, and then I need to change my yarn again to the red color for 3 boxes, and then I am good for the rest of the row. So now for this stitch, I'm just gonna put my yarn behind me, gently bring over my cream for the 1. I'm not gonna finish it, put it behind me, bring over the burgundy, do 3 stitches, 1, 2, and then that 3rd stitch I'm not going to finish. Pull it through the 3 loops, and then I'm just going to do 1 half double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my stitch marker, and then in that stitch that the stitch marker is in, I'm going to put 1 half double crochet and then put the stitch marker right back in that stitch. And then I'm going to finish out the row doing the rest of the 59 stitches, slip stitch into the first half double crochet, chain 1, turn my work, put my first half double crochet in the same stitch that the chain 1 is in, and then just completely repeat the exact same thing we've been doing, following the grid, doing the same plain 59 stitches on the side. And I'm just going to keep on repeating this for a little while, and then once I'm about maybe a little over halfway done, I'll pick back up and we'll do a little bit more, a couple more rows together, and then we'll just finish up our grid. And I'm very excited to show you guys more progress on this. And I am just going to finish this row up, and then I'm probably going to go to bed. But I will see you guys very soon for when I have more done on this. Before I stopped for a while, I wanted to show you what my progress looks like right now. I am going to flip it so you can see. There, that is what I have, a small bit of bud and a small bit of petal. But soon, hopefully when you see me in a few seconds, there will be much more added to this skirt. I know it's an awkward angle, but I have most of my grid finished. I only have about 7 rows done, left, 7 rows left probably, but I just wanted to do a couple more together, maybe 1 or 2, just to, I don't know, refresh the whole tapestry crochet technique. So I've already gone around and done my 59 stitches here, so I've reached my stitch marker, which means I'm at the grid already. I brought in my grid here just so you can see a little bit better of what I'm doing. So now it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the cream. So I'm just going to take out my stitch marker, put my first stitch of this row in that space, and put my stitch marker right back in that stitch. And then I'm going to continue on doing the 3 rest of my stitches because I already have 1 done. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the red color. So I'm going to drop my tail. Since we're working in the front right now, I'm going to drop my tail back here. Oops. And then I'm going to bring in the burgundy. I have my 3 loops on my hook. Bring in the burgundy color, and I'm going to do those 7 stitches. So
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then remember the last one, this stitch right before the stitch that you're changing the color of, you're not going to finish that stitch. So I'm going to start my 7th stitch, but I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to drop my yarn behind me and bring back that cream right here, very gently, being careful not to tug it. And I'm going to yarn over and pull that new color through the 3 loops, just like that. And then I'm just crossing out as I go. And now, as you can see, I need to do 1 of the cream. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But I'm only going to start it, not finish it, since it's only 1. And then I'm going to bring back in my burgundy color here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to do 7 more of this color. So I'm going to do 6 full half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then for my 7th one, I am going to yarn over, insert my hook into the stitch, pull up a loop, and I have 3 loops on my hook. I also am feeling like I have a knot. Hold on, let me get this out. There we go. And then I'm going to drop my yarn behind me, grab my cream yarn, and finish that last stitch with the cream yarn. So now I have 2 cream, 1, 2, but the second one, the stitch right before the color change here, I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to drop that yarn behind me and pull that new color through. So now I need to do 3 of this color. 1, 2, and then that 3rd one, again, I'm not going to finish. I'm going to bring in the cream, and now I'm going to do 2 cream, but not finish the second one, so I can bring in the burgundy color, the red color, for 1. And now I need to do 3 of the cream, so 2 full ones. 1, 2. Then I'm gonna just drop my yarn behind me, and then bring in that other yarn to finish the stitch. Now I need to do 3 of this color. 1, 2, 3. Start it but don't finish it. Then do 2, the cream, just like that, and then 2 of the wine color. Drop it behind me, and then bring in that cream for another 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then in that last stitch before the new color change, you're not going to finish that stitch, you're just going to partially finish it, 3 loops on the hook, and then you're going to bring in that color for the color change and do that 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the cream. One, 2, 6, and then 7. Going to gently bring over the cream, not the cream, this other color, and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on the 7th one, I'm going to drop my yarn behind me and bring in the cream. And do 1 of the cream. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the next color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for the 6th one, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the stitch, do all the things I need to do, and then I'm going to leave those 3 loops on my hook and not finish the stitch by yarning over with this color. I'm going to bring over my 2nd color, just bring it over like that. Do 2 cream, 1, and almost done here. And then we have 1 final color of this one, of this burgundy color, 1 final color change of this row. And then just 4 normal stitches. 1, 2, 3, remove the stitch marker, and put in that last stitch. And now I'm just going to go ahead and continue on with the row. But before I do that, after every single row, I always untangle my yarns because each of the colors are going to get so twisted around itself. So I always untangle them after every row of the grid that I do. I untangle them because they're much easier to work with when they are untangled. So that is also something I recommend you doing because it makes it a lot easier. So now I'm just going to finish out the rest of this row of doing the rest of my 59 stitches, and then I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of the first half double crochet, chain 1, turn my work, put my first half double crochet in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, and then I'm going to do my regular 59 stitches until I get to my grid again, until I reach my stitch marker. When I am all finished with my grid, I am going to do probably 1 or 2 rows of just 1 half double crochet in every stitch, just like the normal rows that we did for before we started the grid, just to finish it off a little bit. And you can, I was planning on doing a bottom border of some kind, and it was actually going to be really cool, but I cannot do that now because I ended up forgetting this when I was doing all my measurements, and 38 inches is a perfect maxi skirt for me, and this will be 38 inches once I am done, but the problem is that doesn't really leave me any room for a border, the border that I was planning on doing, so I might end up eventually making a mini skirt with this same idea and then showing you the border or showing you how you can add beads, something. I really wanted to add something, but it is going to be too long in the end if I do that, so that is quite the bummer. But I am going to finish it off by doing just the normal 1 half double crochet in every stitch rows, and you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can just end off, but I like to have kind of that clean edge, so if you would like to do the same, that is what I am planning on doing. And I'm not sure if I'm doing 1 or 2 yet, but I will let you know once I am all finished, because not even I know yet what I am gonna do.
So I've reached my stitch marker. I'm just going to pop it out. And that stitch that I just made, that half double crochet I just made, is this stitch right here, the first stitch of the grid. So I've already done one, and now I need to do 1, 2, 3 more. 2, 3, and for a total of 4. And now, since we are on the back, we're going to do our color switching a little bit differently. I'm going to take my yarn and bring it behind me. Remember how I showed you in the beginning? And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through my secondary color, do 2 stitches, 1, this is the second one, 2, but I'm going to pull my yarn right behind me, pull my tail right behind me, and then bring in the other color, the main color, just like that, for a total of 2, 1, 2, but not finish the second one, of course. So we have to bring back in our secondary color for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one, we're not going to finish it. I'm going to bring my tail behind me, grab in my main color, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to finish that last stitch here that we needed. And then I'm just going to do 1 of our main color. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of our secondary color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Bring my tail behind me. Then bring back over my main color, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to finish off all of those 8 stitches here. Now I need 4 of the cream, and I'm just going to keep on repeating this process until I'm done with this row, and then repeating the entire process until I'm done with my grid. And remember, when you are in the back of the grid here, at the back, you're going to want to bring your yarn behind you like this. And then remember, when we were in the front, we just dropped the tail behind us. So there's just that small change there, but it's not too difficult to make the adjustment. I honestly find doing on the back easier. I mean, both of them are very easy, but it's just whatever your preference is, I guess. I don't know. I don't mind either way, technically. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish off my grid, and then I'm going to do my 1 or 2 rows of just 1 half double crochet in every stitch all the way around, the same way that we did before we started the grid. And then I'm going to block my skirt, and it's going to be finished. This skirt probably at the end of the day has taken me, I don't know, maybe like over 20 hours for sure to finish. So it has been a labor of love, and I'm just excited to officially wear it and try it on and style it. I'm just super excited. So the next time that you see me, I will be wearing this skirt, and I'm very excited for that. And here is the finished skirt. I am so happy with how it turned out. It is so beautiful. It's so elegant. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you make your own, don't forget to tag me, like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!